Don't you love people that criticize you? Like the guy, like, you didn't, like, kill yourself?
You didn't kill yourself?
Slam it, like, yeah, well, you're alive. Why didn't you jump in a plane?
Yeah.
Why are you
I didn't see you volunteering.
Yeah.
Welcome to Cast with No Name. We are your hosts. I'm Jay.
I'm Matt.
I'm Coop.
This is episode 98. This episode we talk about and see if Godzilla Minus One is really that good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been talking about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's finally on Netflix, so we're going to talk about that. But first, thank you for listening. And as always, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube. So Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Coop?
Yeah, what were your thoughts, Coop?
This was a movie I was not looking forward to having to watch. I just never been into the Godzilla franchise, any of them, like even when I was a kid. But watching this, I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like monster movies?
Not too much. But I did like this one.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the main... Godzilla wasn't really the main character in this.
Yeah,
Like I feel like he has been in previous films. It's more about the people and the fallout and coming together. And
yeah.
it was well done.
Godzilla's more of a tool
Yeah.
to drive the plot line.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So normally when you recommend me movies, 99 times out of 100, I'm probably going to like it.
Yeah.
But when you were like, this is the best movie of the last year, this bar in my mind, I'm like, all right. If Jay says it's the best movie,
Oh, so I ruined it for you.
then I'm thinking, man, this has got to be really good.
Yeah.
Damn. Because the other way around, normally when I recommend you movies, it's probably 80 times out of 100 that you're going to like it. It's not, I'm not batting the same average. But I genuinely I like a lot of movies. I'll dip into any genre. But anyway, so the bar was really high. I must say that I liked it a lot. It didn't clear the bar, but if I were to rank it on the level of competition from last year, it still would make my top 5, no doubt. Yeah, because last year was just terrible, and this definitely stands out more than most do last year. I liked it.
Yeah. Were you a fan of Godzilla movies?
I mean, I never watched the 50s, the ones from the 50s and the 60s and all that stuff. The newer ones, yeah, I like the first one. The second one, no. I like the first King Kong. I like the Peter Jackson King Kong, and I like the Kong Skull Island, but any like Godzilla versus Kong, like, no, not really.
Yeah.
My kids love it, but I could go the rest of my life and not watch it again.
Okay.
Yeah. I like this one. This is probably my favorite Godzilla movie.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I would say that.
This is, as far as the Toho Godzilla movies, this is the only one I've watched.
Ever.
Godzilla.
It's probably
never,
good, though.
Yeah, Godzilla never. I was never fascinated by it. I enjoyed. I mean, the original King Kong. I liked. I watched it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
The Peter Jackson one.
I was obsessed with that movie. By
Yeah,
the way.
were you?
Yeah.
The Peter Jackson one I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah.
I saw the '98 Godzilla, which just felt like Jurassic Park in New York, and then I saw the new Godzilla when it was 2014. The
Yeah.
one with
Aaron Taylor Johnson
and Bryan Cranston for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That one was okay, I guess. But I'm not a huge fan of monster movies. But I really enjoyed this one because I feel like they hit it on the head as far as what a monster movie should be, and it should be a metaphor. And the monster should be a metaphor, in my opinion, for internal struggle with a character. That they don't do. I mean, typically they treat them. I mean, you get the new Godzilla treatment where, oh, he's a good guy, and they kind of
He's the anti-hero.
yeah. And which I thought was dumb as shit in that movie. Like everyone's like, oh, he's our savior, and I'm like, he just destroyed half your fucking city.
Yeah,
and
killed a bunch of people.
It was a pissing contest. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure all those families would beg to differ. But or you'd get like Jurassic Park to where it's just like trying to survive against it. And Jurassic Park, I think, just for that kind of a movie, is probably one of the best kinds of movies like that. But from what I read, because after I saw this one, I was like, oh, are any other movies like this to where it uses it as a metaphor of something? Like the original one, the original Toho Godzilla back in the 50s did it. And I guess the one that came out in 2016, Shin Godzilla, which I guess is supposed to be really good too.
All right.
I haven't seen that one, but
It's not on Netflix. Of course you haven't.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work.
You're going to go out of your way to watch that.
No, of course not. It costs money.
It costs time.
It's no one has time for that.
No.
But no, I really enjoyed it when I saw it in theaters. And then second time around, the emotional beats didn't hit as much for me. I think probably because I was expecting it. But I actually enjoyed, I think, because the movie kind of has two different halves. It's very similar to Jaws, to where the first half of the movie is very much about this person's guilt and everything. And they kind of touch on that in the last third of it. But it kind of felt like Jaws in that sense. But I like the first 2/3, I think, more than the last third. The last third kind of felt like it was dragging a little bit, but still enjoyed it. And I think the reason why it was my favorite from last year is because I was taken so much by surprise for it that most, at least foreign monster movies or just foreign action movies, there's not a lot of story. It's mainly about the cinematography or the choreography or something like that. There's some exceptions, obviously, but the stories from Japanese films really never hit that much. Of course, I'm not well versed. I mean, I mainly watch for like Chinese films or like Bruce Lee films, stuff like that, where it's paper thin story, but it's there for the action kind of a thing. Yeah. But I think I was just pleasantly surprised by it, and I was like, oh, and the fact that it looks so good for being only 15 million.
That's
really,
a good point.
I mean, I was just like, God, I was like, what the fuck are we doing over here? That
just producers got to get paid too,
just jerking off in their offices and $200 million and it's a shit film.
Yeah.
But
how much do you think the special effects budget was percentage wise of the 15 million? You think they paid the actors like,
it was an
$20 a day?
It was an excellent time period piece though.
Yeah.
So the detail and everything. I know that the piece movies like that are very expensive to get all that stuff together.
I would say, if I had to guess, because I didn't look. I tried to look up things first time I watched it. But if I had to guess, I would maybe half. Yeah. I mean, I would believe it if it was like a third, and because there's a lot of stuff on camera, that was done, like the costumes, like some of the set design and stuff like that. There's a lot of practical stuff. So, I mean, if they said half of it, I would believe it. I would be surprised if it was more than that, just because I don't know how special effects companies are run in Japan as opposed to, like, in America, they're run like sweatshops. Yeah. And they employ like 1,000 people, and they operate on very razor thin margins, and everyone's overworked and everything else. But
and I'm sure they paid like the actors minimal, because you're not paying Robert Downey Jr. $50 million to be in. Right. You're not paying Chris Hemsworth $35 million. Over half the budget's paid to the actors. Just where you get Endgame, where it's like a $358 million budget. Half of it goes to the actors. Yeah. So I guess you could make a $15 million special effects movie to make it look so good. I really wish the effects were good, but I wish they would have. It was in black and white. I think the effects would have been that much better if it wasn't black. You wouldn't have noticed, like the granular, like the way the water would move or whatever. You would notice, like, okay, that's a little rough there, but it wasn't to the point where it took me out of anything. But if it was in black and white, you wouldn't notice it. It would just... I
felt like it was already directed in kind of an old-timey style anyway, so having it be in black and white would have just added more to it.
Like it would have been like The Mist. Yeah. The Mist. Have you seen The Mist in black and white?
Not in black and white.
Much better in black and white than in color.
Yeah, because in color, like the monsters coming through, like you get that shine effect.
Yeah.
That you get that really doesn't match the texture of everything else on film. Right. It's just a little too not rubbery, but a little too glossy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a version of it. I think they showed it in theaters for like 2 weeks or something after it did fairly well in America. It was Godzilla Minus One minus color. Yeah. And it's just in black and white. But yeah, I'd be interested to see.
And I agree with you. I think this is one of the better ones where it's used as a metaphor. But when you think of like Jaws or Jurassic Park, like it's not, those movies aren't really used as a metaphor. They're more like a vehicle to ramp up terror and make the movie very suspenseful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When it like the 2014 Godzilla, I mean, if you wanted to say it's a metaphor or something, it'd have been like, human experimentation, radiation testing, nuclear testing. But it's so fantastical that you're kind of taken out of it with things like Jurassic Park with genetic engineering, or Jaws, which is like just nature in and of itself. You could kind of maybe see that happening to where you're more like into the movie, and they put you in situations in the movie where if I was in that possible situation, it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you're watching Godzilla, this 180-foot monster walking through San Francisco, it's cool to look at, I guess, but you're not really scared or terrified.
I feel like those movies like Jaws and Jurassic Park, like those metaphors are applied after the fact by critics or like a third party, whereas this was definitely directed as a film for like redemption, for self-forgiveness, mm-hmm. when he, hits the ejector seat and saves himself instead of actually kamikazing like his original plan was. He forgave himself and bailed out. So this was, I think, more written that way. Those other films, I feel like, are kind of gets applied to them after the fact.
With Jurassic Park, I mean, I don't think there's really even a metaphor in the movie. It was just more of themes.
Yeah. Like
the danger of using science without doing the work to get the knowledge in the first place.
Yeah.
And then, but in the books, it was, I mean, obviously more deep. Like Jaws, that book, I mean, there's a lot of things that weren't taken from the book and put in film. I think what Spielberg typically does is take the best parts and make something that's entertaining.
Yeah.
And I don't think he made any one of those pieces as far as like a think piece. It was, you know what, I'm going to make an action film. I'm going to make an adventure film.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. So I think a lot of that's lost, especially coming from the movie. But yeah, the way it was written, because it was directed by the same guy, I believe. And I mean, he had spent like 5 years on the script because they were about ready to shoot it, and then COVID happened, and he's like, all right, well, I'll just work on the characters and story a little bit more. Which I think it definitely showed the...
Oh, yeah.
But I think, using Godzilla as a metaphor for the main character's guilt and not only his personal guilt, but the pain of like an entire country, I think it was great. And I mean, I think it was very, very well done. And that's probably my favorite part of it, because it starts and ends with him. And I mean, they tied everything into a bow. As far as like a story, I feel like it's almost a perfect story. Like it reminded me a lot of Back to the Future. Every little thing kind of tied back in later, that I noticed a lot more on a second rewatch than I did on the first. But even like smaller moments, like after his girlfriend pushes him out of the way, and they presume her being dead, and they're back at the house and after the memorial, and he's sitting with his daughter and his friends on the boat. He's in the new part of his house, and then when he pulls himself away, he walks into the older part of the house where he had much more guilt, and it was just the entire scene, or the entire setting went from this bright thing, and he just walked over to the old part of the house, obviously representing his internal like gloom and shit. Like, I mean, but it's just tiny things like that I noticed on this rewatch. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's good. I mean, it's something so simple,
right?
But to where he's just kind of like reverting back to where he was previously after he'd kind of built himself up after the fact for so long, and how quickly he regressed into his depression or guilt or whatever.
Yeah. Well, back to the like everyone says, $15 million, like what we should do with effects on a smaller budget. But I think effects have they're so hyperinflated from the days when like we would go see a movie in the 90s, like Jurassic Park is the first one that comes to my mind. Like you would go see it because wow, we've never seen effects like that before. Right. And it was only amplified the fact that it was a scary, like there was scary scenes in the movie, very well paced, and it's like wow. So on top of there being amazing special effects, just the pacing and the storyline and the settings were terrifying. But like as time has passed and like every movie has these bloated special effects budgets, like nothing really stands out anymore.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all kind of lost in the minutia. Yeah.
So like the story has to be good for something to stand out, which this did, because you're right, the script's great, the characters are fleshed out, like you said, the metaphor is really, really spot on. That you don't really need crazy, really amazing, out of this world special effects. They just need to be competent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you just make competent special effects, they're just going to seem like they're amazing. Like, are they the best special effects that I've ever seen? No, but they're good enough. You don't even notice it really because the story is really good.
Mm-hmm. And that was the, I think I've said it before, when I was in college, one of the film teachers said that. He's like, it doesn't matter what kind of camera you have or what kind of equipment you have. He's like, you could have the shittiest equipment, but if you have a great story, your audience will forgive you for it. And then he showed some student film that somebody had done that he shot with like a camcorder, like in the 80s or something, like not in the 80s, sorry, 90s. He noticed somebody picking cans out of a dumpster, pushing his wife, like when he was up in his dorm room looking down, and he did an impromptu, like 3-minute story on him, and he interviewed him and then just got some B-roll, and he was like, yeah, natural sound. He didn't use any lav mics or anything. It was some camcorder his parents bought him when he graduated high school, and it was just shot on videotape. No lighting, no nothing, but like the story and the way he edited it was phenomenal. And that was one of the 5 things in college that I think
You remember?
Yeah.
One of the only 5 things.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. But no, but that kind of always stuck with me, just because he said that line and then he showed proof of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think especially, I mean, probably not just Hollywood, but other places, to where people feel like they always need the best equipment. They always need the latest technology, because they think that's why people want to go to the movies. But no, people want to go to the movies for a story.
Right.
And if the story's shit, no one cares. No one's going to watch it.
Fall in line. Yeah.
And that, I think, is probably the main, and probably why I liked it so much, is because it's one of the better stories I've seen in such a long time, that felt like somebody actually cared about telling a story, as opposed to selling another Avengers movie or whatever. Like, it just felt like, because a lot of the stuff, I mean, it just feels like, we need to create content for the sake of creating content. Like, it doesn't feel like there's really passion behind anything anymore.
Right. Yeah.
What did you think of the plan to kill Godzilla?
Made sense to me.
I thought it was pretty clever.
It was, yeah.
I thought it was good writing, because anybody else would have just been like, nuke the fucker. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, this actually had substance to it.
Right.
And a game plan that everybody has to come together and execute.
Right. Well, I guess technically at that point in time, like the only country that had nuclear technology that worked was the U.S.
Yeah, that's true. They said the U.S. isn't coming to help us, which of course not. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it made sink the fucker.
Yeah, compress them, decompress them.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, then we'll bomb them.
When I was watching it, I was like, hey, they're trying to give Godzilla the bends.
That is what it was.
The fucking bends. When I was in the Navy, we went through Ben's training. So they in Groton, they have this gigantic tower of water. It's like 8 stories high, and you go down.
You did this?
I did this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a submersible training.
Okay.
You can actually go to diver school, but I I didn't apply and I didn't want to do it because it's like another extra 2 months. You qualify diver, but you go through crazy intense shit. But you do have to do this diver training just to experience what it's like to have that amount of pressure in case
you get down
your
there.
sub sinks. It's like, of course, there's only like 0.00002% of the earth where that would make sense to open the hatch and then decompress. But yeah, dude, when you're down there and all that pressure's filled on you and there's a guy in a sub, so they take off your oxygen and you're like, okay.
You're just holding your breath under.
Yeah.
No way.
And then there's the scuba diver's right next to you, and he's like counting, like, okay, breathe out the whole way up. And so you're like,
at the lowest point you were at, what was the PSI?
oh shit, I can't even remember. But it feels like there's just this. I don't know how to describe it. It's just
weight
crushing pressure
from
on
all
angles. Yeah, your head feels like it's about to pop. But they use like hand gestures, like, okay, like this is the pattern you breathe out because you can't just hold your breath all the way up.
Right.
Anyway, but so yeah, I hearkened back to that when they were like, hey, we gotta and then rise him up. I'm like, yeah, give him the bends. It's supposed to kill you. He's biological. It makes total sense.
Yeah. No, I like the plan. I like that it was like, some company and was gonna, like, some regional company was gonna supply the balloons. Yeah, and
like they're scratching shit together. Yeah. Like, we got to get this done. Yeah, yeah.
And I like how they kind of explored a lot of the veterans just not being happy with their country. Yeah, and they kind of like dove into that a little bit to where it wasn't like if we did the same movie. We did do the same movie, and it's Godzilla saved us, and I mean, there's no. I mean, if anything, it's like they'll have shadow organizations or something like that. But a lot of this, like, big budget stuff like that anymore is just like uber patriotic, like very Michael Bay, and flags waving everywhere, and everyone. Yeah, they come together, but it's because
it's Independence Day.
Yeah. And
you get the Top Gun ending.
Yeah.
High fiving.
Yeah.
Woo! Celebrating on the deck of the carrier.
But
we got those fucking Ruskies.
Except for the second one, you don't know what country they.
That's
were
true.
From.
Yeah.
But because profits.
Yes.
It needs to play everywhere.
Yeah. It's some sort of Baltic nation.
But I like how they explored that, and how, I mean, it wasn't so, because I mean, you had people at the very beginning talking about honor and everything else, and like you should be ashamed and everything else, but all that after being away from the situation, all that bullshit just kind of washed away over time, and people were like, okay, this was kind of fucked up. And
don't you love people that criticize you, like the guy, like, you didn't like kill yourself?
You didn't kill yourself?
Like, yeah, well, you're alive. Why didn't you jump in a plane?
I didn't see you volunteering.
Yeah. And I do like those stories though, where you tell the other side of like your enemies of World War II. Like I liked God, what was that movie that just came out last year that was really good?
On Netflix.
It was about World War One. It wasn't World War II, but it was on the German side.
Yeah.
All Quiet on the Western.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Was that just last year?
I think so. Maybe it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
But anyways, a German story. Really, really good movie. But you just don't get a lot of movies where you tell the story on the quote-unquote enemy side of it. Yeah. The other Japanese movie I thought of was Letters from Iwo Jima. Have you ever seen that? Mm-hmm. Ken Watanabe's in it. Clint Eastwood. It's black and white. Really good. I mean, you just don't. It's refreshing. Like you said, it's not patriot. It's not like, gung ho America. Let's high five and sing. What's a country western song that I'm thinking?
It'd be like, I don't know. It'd be
proud to be.
Yeah, thank you. That's the one I was thinking.
We'll put a boot in his ass.
Yeah. Dude, I'm really getting nervous for Avatar: The Fire People.
Why?
Because I don't know.
I haven't thought about that.
Else we're gonna? How can he top? Like, it goes back to what I was saying about.
It's gonna be the exact same fucking movie.
Special effects are just. they've reached their apex. I don't know what else they could do.
Instead of a tree, they used coral. Instead of coral, they're going to use a fucking volcano.
But we went to see the first one. It's like, you've never seen 3D like this.
That's true.
We saw this one, dude. You've never seen underwater effects like this. You're going to set people on fire now?
I wasn't blown
it?
away by the effects on the second one. Were you? Like you said, like
I thought it was yeah.
I mean, it looked good, but
yeah.
it wasn't like when I saw the first one.
There was one shot in particular.
All the minutia, like you said, like shit got lost in the minutia. So now I'm like not that impressed by it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, the story isn't fantastic. It's not that great. So
no, it's exactly the
what
same.
I'm saying is there's just 3 more Avatar movies, and I think each one's going to do worse because the reason you went is for the special effects, and I don't know what niche they have to fill that gap because the story sucks. Yeah. Well, I feel like it's going to suck.
Yeah, it will.
I don't know what else they can do.
Plot twist: Jake Sully is a sleeper cell, and he's actually trying to destroy Pandora. That's why he's leading all those fuckers around. He's like, "Oh, here's another tribe, guys."
He's a scout.
Yeah.
That's what
he's like, "Hey, I gotta fight."
Every time he finds
I'll fight with you.
a peaceful.
Was it you who said this is a prequel to Alien, Avatar?
I don't know. I mean, it kind of sounds.
They
like
let loose the xenomorph on Pandora, and it turns out to be.
They go in the caves, and that's where the
yeah.
xenomorphs are.
Yeah. What's gonna happen? I don't know.
It couldn't be worse than what they have now.
Who knows?
Did you guys catch the OG Godzilla score?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought that was so sick.
I had, and again, because this is the first Godzilla movie I'd seen when I was in theater and I was sitting there and that Godzilla.
Yeah.
First thing I thought of was the Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
Rips the smokestack off and he's like smoking it, and
I forgot about that.
Yeah, because didn't Wu-Tang Clan sample that?
It wasn't Wu-Tang. It was shit.
Bum 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 bum.
Yeah, but yeah, when it dropped, like that's when the bass kicks in. Oh, it's so hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked how Godzilla wasn't like it even makes it more of a metaphor. He wasn't like very animated like the new Godzillas were like it was very fluid. He was very blocky.
Yeah.
Just one step at a time. He wasn't moving very fast.
Especially, well, when he got bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
Pharaoh Monk, Simon Says, is the rapper that sampled that Godzilla song. Sorry, go.
No, that's okay. Well, very blocky and not like just very much a metaphor. It's like it's just he's just there. He's an immovable object and can't be destroyed. Anyway, I like that choice. I like that they didn't like make him more like. I was harkening back to
More
Godzilla
animated,
versus Kong because I just watched that with my kids. So there's no Hollow Earth.
Yeah, I thought when I saw it, I thought they were gonna have Godzilla be the size that he was when they went to Odu Island at the very beginning, and he popped up, and he was like the size of a T-Rex or whatever.
Yeah,
and I was like, ooh, that'd be kind of cool, I guess, to just have him be that size. I mean, obviously it makes sense to have him be destroying buildings. I think people would shit themselves if he was just smaller.
Yeah. There'd be outrage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this?
It would be too manageable. You know what I mean? Like you could easily destroy that thing.
Yeah. But it makes sense with the story because of the nuclear testing that caused him to grow, but then also because as the years are going by, his guilt is just getting bigger and bigger. And to where, then there's a certain point in life then where you actually have to confront it or die or confront it and move on or whatever.
Yeah.
But who are some of your favorite characters?
I liked the girl. I'm gonna butcher her name.
Which girl?
Nariko? Is that her name?
Oh, Nariko? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked her. I thought she was the best actor in the movie, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, the acting, like some of the supporting acting was okay. Like the guys on the boat, when he went to go out to destroy the mines left over from the U.S.
Yeah.
They were all right.
Yeah. Yeah, watching it the second time, the acting isn't most consistent. Some of it felt, not comedic, but just, I guess, gradual. Meaning like it's just like abrupt intensity sometimes.
Yeah.
It doesn't like really build.
No.
When they start getting more emotional, it's almost just like they just flip out.
Yeah.
But I liked Sumiko, I think the neighbor lady.
Oh yeah, she was good too.
Kids died. Because just rewatching is like, well, I'm done caring. And then she's like, the fuck is that? Oh, you got a baby? God damn it. All right, here, let me show you how to. And then she ends up pretty much more or less being their mother to that couple.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that I enjoyed about that movie is just that everyone's pain and trauma from immediately following, everyone's just bitter and just hate it, but then they eventually move on. They form their own impromptu family. Even people are like, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. I never you have no honor. We would have won if we didn't have cowards like you. And but then all that shit just washes away, and then they support each other anyways. And,
that's probably why I liked her, Noriko, the most. Like you said, everyone's all dour and depressed, and just the weight of the post-war is just like nothing's going to get better. At least she represented like, hey, we have to move on and make the best out of the situation here. Or we're never going to get out of this.
Yeah, especially with like her story of finding the child. We're like, well, she made me promise her, so this is my life now, which is fine. But this is what I'm going to be doing.
Got to do something good.
Yeah.
What else am I going to do?
fucking sitting here on rocks. What are we? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But yeah, rewatching it, some of the things. I mean, the lack of budget. You could tell. I mean, there just wasn't a lot of extras in some shots.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some crowd scenes, but like there was just some shots that felt like 4 people standing in front of a green screen. On some things, like the reporters, like, oh my God, and he's coming right for us, and you can see, oh, he's just taking down the old theater.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Some of that stuff. It always like some of like the buildings crashing and people being affected. It always felt like 4 or 5 people, and that was it. And then on a platform that just kind of breaks away.
Just breaks away. Yeah.
But
it won the Oscar.
Yeah,
special effects. Yeah.
So it did not get nominated for best foreign language film.
It didn't.
No, because Toho thought it was too expensive to submit the film for awards for the Oscars.
Okay.
The special effects crew went ahead and submitted it without telling Toho because it cost like $200.
Okay.
And they're like, fuck it, we're going to submit it.
Yeah.
But they're like, and Toho was like, and they also didn't think that American audiences would give a shit. And so I think it was kind of more like self-preservation. We don't want to be embarrassed to submit this or whatever. So that's the only reason why that's what it was nominated for, and that's why it won. I feel like because I think the best foreign language film, what was it? I forget, but I know Zone of Interest won for best sound.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that won best foreign language or not, but I feel like it would have at least got nominated for best foreign language.
Oh yeah. I never watched the Zone of Interest. Did you?
Yes. It's all right.
Normally, when they make movies about Holocaust camps from World War II, that's gold. It's gold.
But,
yeah. I watched it after it won the Oscar, and I was like, oh, must have because the story, if you don't know, Zone of Interest it's about this German soldier and his family that live in this house, and there's a fence, and that on the other side of that fence or the wall is Auschwitz, and so he lives there. And I thought, oh, they were going to do some like good things with sound as far as like, I mean, they do something like you'll hear screaming or gunshots or the furnaces running, and but it feels very much like a slice of life film, which is similar to like Roma.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, here's a section of some people's lives.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have the typical rising action, falling action resolution. A lot of it's just here's what happens during this time thing.
Yeah.
And so it felt a lot like that.
It did win.
Oh, it did. It
Zone
win
of interest.
Zone
yeah.
of interest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's because it's about the Holocaust.
Yeah, of course. You can't.
And
what are you gonna?
They're not gonna not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
there's some hopeful.
And I think it was
Japanese movie
made
called
by
A
an
Perfect Day,
English. I
also
think it was made
nominated.
by an English production company, but they
UK,
had
yeah.
it in German,
Okay.
and so it was best foreign film, which I guess technically that's foreign, but Mr. Bean should have won.
There was another one called Perfect Days from Japan.
That I saw a trailer for that before Godzilla when we saw it in theaters.
Hirayama cleans public toilets in Tokyo, lives his life in simplicity and daily tranquility. Some encounters also lead him to reflect on himself.
Yeah.
Now, you
Sounds
think
like
that's
a
going to beat the Holocaust?
Sounds
I'm
like a
sorry,
real snoozer. Yeah.
not gonna happen.
Did you watch it dubbed or did you watch the subtitles?
Which one?
-1.
Subtitles, yeah.
It was better with subtitles.
Yeah, okay. So did you go back and rewatch it? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And I don't know if it just sucked me in more, made me pay more attention to the detail of it. I don't know what, but it was better.
Yeah, and that's why I like subtitles better. Just it's one less thing that distracts you.
Yeah.
Like some people are like, oh, you got to read everything. But when you think back and you remember the movie, you remember like they were just speaking in English.
Yeah,
anyways.
for sure.
Yeah.
And some people are like, well, then I can't see what's going on.
Then you need to.
I was like, then
learn
you
to
need to read
faster,
a little bit
practice.
quicker.
Yeah, practice reading.
And-
Yeah.
But
If the dubbing's off, if it's wrong,
Yeah.
the voice actor, it takes you completely out of it.
See, that doesn't even fuck with me.
Oh, it
like
does
like
me.
the dubbing being off for some reason doesn't fuck with me there. I think I just like look at the actor's eyes and
cannot
maybe it
do it.
doesn't, but I can see how it can be. It could be throw you off.
yeah, and the other thing is like, and depending how much, I guess, if you want to be a purist, like you get the original acting and the original voice acting as opposed to someone looking at the line, then looking at the TV, and then saying it in the microphone, trying to match the intensity, and they're not working on that character as much as what
they're reading a
actor.
script. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Like, have you ever seen Rumble in the Bronx?
yeah,
Dude, it's the weirdest movie because they have the American actors that are talking in English, then you have the Chinese actors that are speaking in Mandarin. They dub over everything.
Yeah.
So even the they're speaking English.
Even the English got dubbed over in
Yes.
English. Yeah.
And then the Jackie Chan's part was dubbed by Jackie Chan, who can't speak very good English. Like, what is happening?
What are we doing here? Yeah.
What are you doing?
I like it because at the beginning of that movie, it was subtitled.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then, because I never saw the whole thing, I was watching it, and then they had that conversation in the van. He's like, oh, nephew, how's your English? And he's like, pretty good. And then he's like, great, let's speak in English from now on. And then it was everything was dubbed, and I was like, oh.
Oh, no. The action's great in that movie.
Yeah,
Some of my
I bet.
favorites. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't mind subtitles at all.
No.
I actually prefer it.
City of God's probably one of my favorite movies.
Love that movie.
Yeah, and that's all. I've only ever watched it in
Oh,
subtitles.
I've never
movies-
seen that.
Oh, shit. You've never
Jay.
seen that? That is awesome.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Damn.
Yeah.
You like that movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
What's it about?
It's about the crime in the favelas of Rio. Right?
Yeah, Rio de Janeiro, And the
I can imagine the poster.
And it's
I remember seeing the poster in the
Yeah.
box and like video rental stores. It was like two people's backs turned
Yeah,
or something
on the beach.
like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's two kids that grew up in Rio, like in the slums of Rio, and how one kind of goes one direction, another one kind of goes the other, but they stay kind
Friends.
of acquaintances.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say friends necessarily, but they stay acquaintances. They kind of are in the same circle. But
Yeah, it's like a coming of age story,
Yeah.
but in the shittiest circumstances imaginable.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
that's all I got.
All right.
Yeah. Would you recommend it?
Yeah. Of
Would you
course.
recommend it, Coop?
Same. Yep. For sure.
Again, all the tons of shit out there that I don't have time for or nor desire to watch, I would say this is yes, I highly recommend it.
And
Worth
like
your
I said,
time.
I was super hesitant about watching. Like if we hadn't have done it for this show, I would have never have watched it. But
Right.
I'm glad I did. Yeah, it's definitely I
Yeah.
would definitely recommend it. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it's better than They Cloned Tyrone. It's probably still my favorite movie from last year, but it's in the top 5.
I think I like this better than the Clone.
I think
There you go.
I think I did too. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Just because they Clone Tyrone didn't have that emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't get your in your feels.
Didn't get me in the feels. It's like I gotta feel something other than laughter, I guess.
Yeah.
I did like the last line. Tyrone, isn't that you?
Yeah.
Watching it on TV.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
join us next time as we talk about the new Beverly Hills Cop movie. Is it just Beverly Hills Cop 4? Is that what they call it?
I think it's just called Beverly
or is it
Hills Cop Axel F.
Axel F.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know why they aren't more creative with.
Don't need to be.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F.
Eddie Murphy's 63 years old. We'll see how he does.
Yeah.
It's an old man.
Well, it'll be interesting.
Tom Cruise is still doing it.
Yep. Well, Tom Cruise has always been doing it. Eddie Murphy, I think, took a break to raise his 20 kids or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That might be a conservative estimate.
Yeah, that's
too.
going to be the new Wayans
Yeah.
family. It's like everyone's going to be coming out of the woodwork as a Murphy.
It's true.
But yeah, that is going to be streaming on Netflix July 2nd,
Third.
3rd.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
Till next time, Jay.
Till next time, Coop.
Till next time, Matt.
Till next time, Coop.
Till next time, Jay.
Till next time, Matt.